Good evening, folks. This is Jerry with Logistic Dynamics. Our agency is Demo Freight Systems out of Dallas, Texas, and there's a couple things I want to go over in this video for drivers and for freight brokers that are willing to help drivers out. Okay, because we do this on a weekly basis. Okay, the first thing I want to go over is drivers. You must know your cost per mile, the minimum rate per mile that you need to operate your truck to pay your expenses while you're on the road and also at home too. Second thing is I want to go over how to figure out what your cost is. And third thing I want to go over is what type of freight do you need to operate your truck so that you can keep your bills paid at home and also while you're out on the road. Okay, now those are three things I want to go over with, and we'll get to this end of this video. Okay, the first thing I'm going to go over is how to come up with what your cost per mile is. Okay, and how you figure that is you write down all your personal bills on a sheet of paper, all your monthly expenses at home. Then you write down in a separate column all your expenses while you're out on the road. If you're an owner operator, that means everything that you spend money on, everything. Okay, write all those down, come up with a total for both of those, add those two totals together, then you divide that by 4 weeks in a month. Divide that by 4. That will give you your total on a weekly basis, what you need to generate in order to pay your bills at home and on your business, on your truck. Okay, then once you figure that out, then you divide that number by the amount of miles that you want to run on a weekly basis. Because if you don't know, then that could create a problem. And I'll show you how to come up with that in just a minute. Okay, now say if you want to do say if you're a solo driver and you want to do 2,500 miles a week, or if you want to do 3,000 miles a week, we'll just give a rough estimate. A solo driver can do 3,000 miles a week within a 70-hour time frame and can run on his recap. Okay, now suppose he wants to do 3,000 miles a week. Never, ever, ever assume that you're going to run 3,000 miles a week as a solo. If you are a team can easily do 5,000 miles a week. So if they want to do, so what you do is you figure up your miles. If you're a solo, if you want to do 3,000 miles a week, then you figure it out for 2,000 miles a week, or the most at 2,500, because you're not going to run 3,000 miles every week. That's not going to happen. When my wife and I drove team for 12 years as owner operator, we never drove the same amount of miles every week. It was impossible. Some weeks we drive 6,000. Some weeks we do 6,500. Then there's weeks we done 5,000. There's even been some we done 4,000 as a team. Okay, so figure out your miles, what you want to do in a week. If you're solo, figure it for 2,000. Then you take that number that you got from your bills, you divided that by 4, okay, on a weekly basis. Then you divide that number by 2,000 miles. That will give you what you want to do in a week. Say for instance that I'm using a calculator here, okay? And say for instance you want to do, your monthly expenses is $4,000. $4,000. And you want to do, say, and you want to figure it up now as 2,000 miles a week. So you want to, so that's basically going to be 4,000 divided by 2,000. That is $2 a mile. Okay, $2 a mile. Say if you were a team and you've got a mortgage payment at home, you've got 2 kids in college, you've got 3 cars you're paying for, and you're an owner-operator, you own your own truck and trailer, plus your house, and all those expenses combined in together. Okay, so, and your total amount of a month that you do is, say, roughly $15,000 a month. A team, an owner-operator team, or even a solo can average out on a monthly basis between 10 and 15,000 plus on a monthly basis. If they are less than that, that's a problem. Big problem. Say for instance, your all your bills combined to say $15,000. Okay, and that's a month. Okay, that is minimum. I'm going to shoot for 15,000. Okay, and say a month. You divide that by 4 equals, that's $3,750 a week minimum. Okay, now most teams can average out between $20,000 and $30,000 a month. Does not matter what market it is if they've got good connections. Okay, whether the freight market dropped to the bottom or whatever, they've got connections, and most of them can generate a minimum of $20,000 a month. So that's $5,000 a week. Okay, and say if they want to do, say if they're a team and they want to do, and they do 5,000 miles a week, never ever figure it out for $5,000. Always do it for $4,000. Okay, or 4,000 miles. We always figured it 3,500. Okay, whether we were driving solo or team, if we were driving team, we always did 3,500. Okay, so if you want to do 5,000, say if your weekly expenses is $5,000, you divide that by 3,500 equals, that's $1.42 a mile, roughly $1.43 if you want to round it up, $1.43. So that's your minimum that you got to average. And here in a minute, I'll get to some more figures in just a minute. Now, say if you're a solid team and you've got dedicated freight and you run the same lane or the same loop every week and you know what your miles are. Say if you run every week, week in and week out, and you're out 2 or 3 months at a time and you run 5,000 miles a week. So that's 20,000 miles a month. Okay, so 5,000. So say if you run 5,000 a week and your total is 20,000 a month. Okay, but your total bills that you have at home and on your equipment is roughly about, say, $10,000 or even as high as $15,000. Well, guess what? You can put that extra money, that's extra money in the bank. Extra money that you can put back for other stuff. Okay? Now, say if you are a solo driver or a company driver. You're a solo driver and you drive for a company and they're paying you a certain cent a mile, whether it's 30 cents a mile, 40 cents a mile, 45 cents a mile, whatever be the case. Okay, this system here works. It will work. This way you will know how much money that you can actually make on a weekly basis to pay your bills on a month. Okay, now don't get me wrong. There's times where a solo will not drive 3,000 miles a week. But it all depends on how you want to run, what lanes you want to run, okay? And I'll get into the lanes in the next part of this video. Now, say for instance that you're a solo driver and you run, or you're a team and you run all 48 states, okay? And if you run Canada, fine too. Or if you even run down to Mexico, that's fine too. But supposedly that you want to run everywhere. Now there's going to be some markets that is going to be tougher to get out of than there are others. Say for instance, Phoenix, Arizona, unless you have dedicated freight coming out of there. Albuquerque, New Mexico, any major city that could be tough to get out of, which is Phoenix and Albuquerque and a host of all others. But the hot markets has always been Los Angeles, Seattle, Dallas, Chicago, Cleveland, Columbus, Ohio, Atlanta, Georgia, and then sometimes even Miami, Florida, or even Denver, Colorado. It just depends on what the market is at that time. And believe you me, the market will changes multiple times a day. I've seen it happen. Chicago, Illinois will be hot in the morning, dead in the afternoon. Okay? But you gotta plan your routes. Okay? Now, I want to get to this one thing. It is imperative that you plan ahead when you're planning your route, because you don't want to get stuck. Okay? And you have to deadhead. Okay? When you deadhead, that's going to create a problem. Okay? Because that will throw you into the red. That's money coming out of your pocket that you could have put on a load in order to get from point A to point B, in which I'll go over that in just a second. Now, there is no such thing as what everybody quote unquote, and quote unquote being cheap freight. Okay? Now, how cheap freight come about was when a lot of drivers saw on the load boards and by word of mouth, or whatever be the case is, or even by phone calls from brokers, say, hey, look, I got this 48,000 pound load of lumber or steel pipe, and it's going from Columbus, Ohio, all the way to just say Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay, and you figure up the miles, and you ask, and then all of a sudden you ask the broker or the agent, freight agent, you ask, or even the shipper, as far as that goes, what are you paying on the load? They give you a figure, and you figure it up, and that load is paying $1.20 a mile. $1.20 a mile. See here? $1.20. Okay. Now, then you ask, what is your budget on that lane? What is the maximum that you can offer? Okay. Then they'll tell you, that's all I got in it. $1.20 a mile. BS. Yep, I'm going to call it BS. Because if a load does not pay enough for you to haul it, then don't haul it. Wait a minute. Did I just say that? Did I seriously just say that? Okay, suppose you picking up in Columbus, Ohio, and down to Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay, $1.20 a mile. Okay, now you look on the load board, you tell the broker, all right, give me 5 minutes, let me see if I can find something out of Shreveport, Louisiana. You look on the load board, and I'll be damned, there's a load coming out of Shreveport 10 miles from where you're delivering to, and guess where the hell it's going? It's going to Los friggin' Angeles, California. And guess what? How much that load pays? $3 a mile. So are you going deadhead from Columbus, Ohio, where a load pays $1.20 a mile for a lumber load, over to Indianapolis, Indiana, so to speak, or even further than that. You'll deadhead 300-400 miles to pick up a load that will pay you $3 a mile. Okay, you just went into the red. By golly, you just went into the friggin' red. Because guess what? Each time that you deadhead, that's going to be deadhead you will not be able to make up. Now, if it is, you got to deadhead 50 miles or even 75, even 100 miles, it's fine. As long as it's below 100 miles. I tell all of our drivers all the time, where are you empty at? I'm empty 400 miles away. I can be there first thing in the morning, or I can be there by 5 o'clock this afternoon. And I go, so your driver's 400 miles away. Okay, my customer does not have enough money in their budget in order to pay you 400-mile deadhead, or even 300-mile deadhead. Okay, because I want to tell you something. Every every driver wants their deadhead friggin' paid. It does not matter where they're coming from. If it's below 100 miles, they don't care. If it's over 100, they want their deadhead paid. Okay? And a lot of customers, a lot of shippers don't have it in their budget to pay the deadhead. Okay? So, most times you have to suck it up and drive 200-300 miles, which the deadhead will be on you. Now, there is no such thing as cheap freight. Cheap freight, there is no such thing as cheap freight. Okay? I cannot stress that enough. You have got to average out on a weekly basis your minimum. If your minimum is $1.80 a mile, then you've got to average that on a weekly basis. On a weekly basis, you've got to average $1.80 a mile. Anything over that is money in the friggin' bank. Okay? I can't stress that enough. Okay. That's it for now, guys. That's all I've got. But I do want to say one more thing to the freight brokers, though. And I'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, freight brokers and freight agents, I want to ask you something. Do you help your drivers out if they call you on the phone on a load? And say, for instance, you tell them on a 1,000-mile run on, say, a 48,000-pound load of lumber, flatbed with tarps, and you give them a certain amount, say $2,000. And then all of a sudden they come back with this statement, and this has happened to me more times than I got fingers and toes. They will tell you, oh, I can do that same load right there for $1,400. Really? That is a red freaking flag. I mean a big, huge red friggin' flag. Okay? Because if they drop the rate, that means they do not know their cost. Okay? And if they do know their cost, they're not going to make any money on it. Okay? But you do not know what the situation is for that driver. And what you need to ask that driver is one question. Do you know what your cost is to operate your truck? And you as a freight broker or freight agent should be able to break it down so that they will understand. My wife and I have done it many times over the last 2 years. We have stopped all operation. My wife shut her phone off. She cut her email notifications off. I had my phone on speakerphone. My wife pulled up her chair right here by my desk. And guess what? We have spent time with that driver, getting with him, and figuring out what his cost is. We have done that. We do that at least 3 or 4 times a month or more. Just depends. We have done it to help drivers out. Not only are we freight broker agents, which a lot of drivers think that we're like poison in a rattlesnake. No, our agency is here to help drivers. We help drivers do what it is necessary to keep them in operation. If our customers' freight do not have a budget for the lane, we will tell you. So, hey, look, my customer don't have it in their budget. Okay? I don't give a rat's ass if we make any money or not. That's beside the point. Our main goal is to help drivers keep moving, keep rolling, making money. Get them from point A to point B to point C to point D so they can make money. Okay? Now, a lot of freight brokers ain't going to tell you that. Not you drivers. Nope. Not you at all. But I want to be honest with you. By golly, we will. We'll tell you exactly. We'll stop all operations just to help you out. If you do not know your operation, your operational costs, that's your business. That is your household bills. Okay. Now I'm gonna stress this again. Add both of them up. Add them all up. Okay. Then you divide that total number right there by 4. That'll give you what you need to make on a weekly basis. Okay. Then you take that amount by the miles you want to run a week, and that will give you your minimum rate per mile that you need to make on a weekly basis. I can't stress that enough. It is a weekly flipping average, not on every damn load. I gotta make $2 a freaking mile. No, you don't have to make $2 a freaking mile unless you want to make $2 a freaking mile. But I want to be honest with you. If all freight brokers or freight agents or even shippers, if you have direct freight from a shipper, are they going to pay you $2 a mile on every lane? No, because guess what? They also have access to the markets. They watch the markets just like freight brokers and freight agents do. Okay? I see it all the time in my email. Okay? All of our customers, they send us their load list, what they want, what they got, or what they're willing to pay on the lanes. Yes, they do. Every freight broker's got it. Why do you see that shit on the load boards posted with the rate? You'll see some of them posted on there where a broker won't even make $10 off of it. I know. I see it all the time. But what are you going to do? What do you seriously want to do now? Do you want to stay in business as a truck driver or even as a freight broker? We all got to work together to get this together. Okay? Now, that's all for now. I'll be posting another video here in about a week. Just stay tuned, and we'll catch you on the next one.